Hello, I am Nuno Freire and I'm presenting this work, which was done in conjunction with Mário Silva, a professor at the University of Lisbon. And we are both researchers at ICADL, a research lab in Lisbon as well. So our research addresses the problem of linked data acquisition, in particular the acquisition of under a crawling paradigm. This is a paradigm that is applied in use cases that acquire linked data without being confined to a limited set of data sets or use just small parts of many small data sets. The crawlers are initialized with a set of URIs and continue to crawl, to follow links and crawl to other resources until the criteria for crawling the frontier is met. We performed this study in cultural heritage, where semantic data is highly valuable and is applied for descriptions of cultural heritage objects. We conducted a study in the network of Europeana, which is formed by cultural heritage institutions, data aggregators, and the Europeana Foundation, which is the central aggregator. So in this study, we defined the semantics-based frontier for this domain and applied our method to crawl around 10,000 resources of describing cultural heritage objects from 4 datasets of 2 data providers. We then measured how the semantics-based frontier contributed for driving the crawling process. So about our method. Our method is based on the definition of the crawling frontier by semantics of data elements. So by focusing on known semantics within the domain, we may reduce the effort and demand for computing resources during a crawling process. It extends the typical crawling parameterization based on frontiers which are agnostic of the semantics of any semantics of the data. So like maximum crawling depth or maximum number of resources crawled, or domain names of the URIs and so on. So based on the domain's knowledge, it specifies the following. It specifies the RDF classes that are known within the domain. For each class, it specifies which RDF properties can be applied within that class. And for each property, it also specifies how the values are used within the domain. Are they used as literals? Are they used to full descriptions of this kind of RDF resources? Or they just are used as, we just collect URIs and use it as references. The definition enables the crawling to make crawling decisions, allowing it to focus on data that the domain will be able to interpret. The crawl from this semantic space frontier, the crawler can on itself infer the following: which class instances should be crawled or ignored, the properties that should be crawled or ignored, and from the crawled properties, which refer to RDF resources, which should be collected without further crawling to the referred resource, because the domain will not use it. So we then evaluated our method on Europeana. We crawled data sets about data providers, about cultural heritage objects. We evaluated the extent to which our approach is able to define the frontiers of the linked data graph that concerns just a single particular cultural heritage object or a set of such objects. The semantics frontier was defined by aligning schema.org and the Europeana data model. So we analyzed the specifications within Europeana, which relate to schema.org and the Europeana data model. And we have identified that this domain applies 18 classes from schema.org. And within these 18 classes, 408 properties can be applied, which correspond to 54 distinct properties. We then crawl the published link data available from 2 Europeana data providers. So this diagram shows a bit more in detail. So starting here on the right side, so we set up the samples, the URI seeds for the crawling process, and we have created the knowledge base, as I just explained, and this is provided as input to the crawler. The crawler so then follows the URI seeds and keeps on crawling, and it was so when it collected data from the National Library of Finland and from the National Library of the Netherlands. So the crawler outputs a report which allows us then to perform the evaluation. In this report, we are able to see the impact that the semantics-based frontier is able to guide the crawling process. And the focused crawler also outputs, of course, the crawl data as well. So regarding the data that was crawled, for the National Library of the Netherlands, it corresponded to 3 collections of, so it's 3 specialized collections on particular types of objects, while the collection from the National Library of Finland was more general, so it contained many different kinds of cultural heritage objects described in them. Regarding the results, you can see that the signals, the crawling signals that were given by we can see that the crawling process was mainly stopped by the semantics-based frontier, since the maximum depth of 10, which we applied, was never reached. And we can see that it happened in many cases for all the data sets. We started from 10,000 resources, and we had over 100,000 stop signals based on the semantics. So breaking down the kind of stop signals given by the semantic frontier, we can see that 7% were cases where we just collected the URI references and did not keep on crawling for the full RDF resources. 57% was the highest one, which were predicates in the RDF triples, which we were not used within the domain. And 36% were for RDF types, which were not interpretable within the domain. So the resulting data set of 10,000 seeds resulted in 45,000 RDF resources and 138,000 RDF statements. So when this was the data that we considered, according to the semantics-based frontier, would be interpretable within the domain. So our study showed, to conclude, our study showed how limiting the focused crawling using semantic data elements can lead to significant improvements in crawling efficiency. A high number of stop signals was triggered by the semantically defined frontier, and the frontier was able to signal the crawler of the presence of unnecessary data for the domain indeed. So nevertheless, these results cannot really be extrapolated to other domains. Wind data is extremely heterogeneous, so it may vary the results. So in future work, we actually like to address this and perform evaluations on other domains. But within cultural heritage, we would like to investigate the usage of other vocabularies within the Europeana specifications and evaluate the results of applying these crawling methods. So we see potential to extend it to 20 other namespaces and schema.org. Yeah, that's all. Thank you for your attention.